So we've been talking about some Battletech tactics here, looking at some Lance builds, reviewing some mechs, talking about Danger Close, pushing those up to my channel here under the Battletech playlist. We're going to inject a little bit of hobby into today's post and ask the question, but I need a disclaimer ahead of time. There are a lot of mechs out there in the Battletech universe. And whatever your playstyle is, we all have our favorite machines. We all have those mechs that, given the battle value, you're going to put down. Some of those mechs are very efficient. Other mechs, perhaps not so efficient. So I'm not picking on any single mech because as I lay out the various lances I play, there's some solid mechs there. There are some heavy hitters. And then there are some strange builds. But that is the allure. That is the magic of Battletech, where we don't always need to play full meta optimization, and we can still pull out that tabletop win, that tabletop immortality. So that disclaimer, pushing that out there, because I certainly don't want to push down on anyone's favorite mech. Mechs that just were not needed. Mechs, what were they thinking? What were they trying to sell? Now, what's interesting, the narrative about Battletech is this idea of various companies, literal companies like General Motors or Kong Industries, selling battle mechs throughout what has become, depending on the time frame with the Star League, the Inner Sphere, and continuing to sell certain types of mechs to the various houses. So there's this idea of, much like modern militaries, not so much the ultimate war machine. I mean, we have some mechs that are like that, very, very potent, but more like, what can you afford? This is the era of battle mechs. What exactly can you afford? Or a very, very specific point in time. I'm going to name one mech, the Vulcan. When you look at the Vulcan by itself, it's got some quirks. Why would you have a mech dedicated to anti-infantry, one very, very, very specific role, and to deal with light vehicles? If I look at the meta is, we'll throw down some infantry, lower battle buy-in, and throw down some tanks, light tanks, fast-moving tanks, or even some hovers to kind of keep that BV in check. Why the heck would we develop the Vulcan? But in terms of selling it, in terms of military hardware, there's a very, very specific piece where some mechs were needed to deal with infantry and tank-based tactics. So they came up with the Vulcan. So this is why the tech manuals are so important, to add a little bit of spice, to add a little bit of flavor to the various battle mechs. So that battle mech that is just absolutely not needed. Even trying to spin it from the sales brochure. And it's not like the Stalker. Stalker's a fantastic mech. That's easy to sell. That mech sells itself. But those mechs, imagine they're being in the board meeting and trying to sell your entire bonus, quarterly bonus, selling just like a few of these mechs, 2 or 3 of these mechs to some sort of planetary defense force or some aspect. What would that mech be? Okay, my vote. And this is trying to narrow it down to one mech. I have multiples of this mech. I play this mech, but I play it completely for the lulz, and it is definitely not required. And we're talking stock, because the variants of this mech actually restore it to possibly the battle value and tonnage that it should be. It's got more small lasers than you can possibly ever use. It's pretty fast. It's pretty fast for its tonnage. It's up there. It's got a lot of armor. It's got a lot of armor. Wait, a lot of armor. A lot of armor. Fast mech, but only stock small lasers. Small lasers all over the place. The Charger. The Charger is one of these examples of a mech design that is so over the top and so like not what was even remotely needed. We don't need an assault-based, heavy-based tonnage for the battle value skirmish/scout mech. No, we've got a Locust for that. We've got tons of bug mechs for that. We've got Scout Wind cars that we could pull in for that. We don't need a heavy echelon mech. Let's buy these and then retrofit them later with the AC-20s to push that out. So my vote, as an example, would be the Charger. I regularly and routinely play the Charger. In an ending note, I play it just for the lulz. You know, a lot of it depends on the battle value that scales. I try to build my list so they can play at multiple battle values. So this way, if my opponent wants a big game, I can do a big game. If they want a smaller game, I can do that. It starts with 2, maybe 3 locusts, along with a charger. The locusts go out, they act as spotters, they skirmish. The charger just starts running up the flank, left or right, get into position. So by the end of the beginning of the game, or as we move into mid-game, that charger has outflanked in your deployment zone and is now literally getting up there to tonnage attack, to try and punch you, to try and charge you, to try and push you over, to try and do anything, to kick, just to savage you with kicks. And for the battle value, I mean, admittedly, it has low battle value buy-in because it's got no weapons and it's jacked up. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'll take some hits. I can take some hits on the way in, as long as it's not like a lucky snake eyes, critical, roll for crit, confirmed 3 engine blowouts, or my head gets blown off. I'm making it in. That's at the lower battle value. At the higher battle value, I start putting down 3, 6, 8, 12 locusts. I release the locust swarm on you. But I only go with 1 charger, no matter what the battle value is, because I got to draw the line somewhere with the lulls, and I need to have like some tactical discipline, somewhat from that perspective. So your vote for that 1 mech, which it's like, Fritz, I hear your pitch and I'm feeling it. I've got the sales brochure, but I'm not buying it. I'm not buying these mechs. Maybe if you had techs sell them to me, I'd buy it, but you're going to have to find your quarterly bonus elsewhere and deliver a more capable and potent mech.